law firm representing injured people. You can see the interview as well on our Facebook page. Dr. Clark, good morning.
Morning.
I knew we'd see you here this month
Right. This
because it's Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month.
is our monthly spot anymore, right?
Well, there's always some sort of observance going on, and
Right.
this is an important one, isn't it?
Very important. Yeah. It's something that we can really do a lot about. So,
That's the thing with colorectal cancer. Really, really a dangerous cancer, but one that you can really get a handle on pretty quickly.
right. We do early diagnosis. We have better than 90% survival. And, that's the point to get across is that, don't avoid early detection because if we can get polyps out before they ever turn into a cancer. And even if you do have a cancer and we catch it at an early stage, we have excellent success with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So the question becomes, how do we catch the polyp? How do we identify that there's a problem?
Well, the main thing is, we've talked in the past, the American Cancer Society recently decreased the age for the average person to get a colonoscopy. We're seeing younger and younger people with colon cancer. And so now, instead of 50 years old to have your first screening colonoscopy, they're recommending age 45 if you have no family history or risk factors. If you have risk factors, family history and things like that, of course, there's genetic testing and other things that we recommend. And as you know, I do the genetic testing, not just for breast, but I also do it for colon cancer as well.
Yeah. Are most of those things interchangeable when you think about detection methods the type of screenings that you can do uh, aside from colonoscopy, of course, for cancers that they can be pretty well detected pretty readily through blood?
A lot of cancers can.
Yeah.
There's some that can't. There's some bad ones out there that would still don't have early detection measures for pancreatic, ovarian, things like that.
Hmm.
But with breast, prostate, colorectal, we have screening measures we can do. Mammograms for breast, PSA tests for prostate cancer, and not just colonoscopy, but the Cologuard test that's out there as well
Hmm.
helps. And even just doing the fecal occult blood, through your PCP office is also very good as well.
Yeah, and those sort of are starter steps, aren't they?
Right. Yeah. The colorectal blood tests, the stool sample tests that you send back to your doctor, they're okay, but they're not as reliable, and there's some false negatives, a lot of false positives because they're interfered with by your diet.
Hmm.
If you eat something with a lot of iron in it, spinach, leafy green vegetables, things like that, they can cause them to be positive. Still, the main recommendation is a colonoscopy starting at age 45.
Okay, so start us through the process. Somebody hears that and they say to themselves, "Well, I've never had a colonoscopy. I don't even know what it is. What do
Right.
I do?"
Well, the first thing to do is either contact your primary care doctor or call one of the gastroenterologists. We have three gastroenterologists. Dr. Kramer is the one affiliated with IPG, and they're more than willing. Dr. Billen does colonoscopies as well, and Dr. Guidetti. So my partners, but more of the screening ones go through the GI doctors. And so if you contact your primary care doctor, they can refer you to the gastroenterologist. A lot of insurance don't even require a referral anymore. And
Mhm.
so you can pick up the phone and look up Dr. Kramer and just refer right to call Dr. Kramer's office and get a colonoscopy scheduled.
Okay, that's a really simple process,
Right.
and there's really no reason not to do that.
Correct. I've had mine, and if we get one, I'm normal. I had it when I turned 50.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, it was normal, so I don't need another one for 10 years, and that's the current recommendation. If you get one and you have no risk factors and it's clean, you don't need another one for 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and now if you have polyps that they remove, then recommend usually one in another year or so, depending on the type of polyp. But if you have polyps and they get them out, they've just prevented you from getting a cancer.
Yeah, yeah, because a polyp is going to become a cancer if you let it
Absolutely.
untreated.
Yeah. There are certain small, tiny little polyps called hyperplastic polyps. They're just little inflammatory polyps that do not turn into cancer. They come and go. But the most common polyp is called an adenomatous polyp. And
Hmm.
that grows from the lining of the colon and either grows like a shag carpeting, and that's called a tubulovillous type, or it grows as a mushroom type, and that's called a pedunculated polyp. But either type, you get them when they're small, you snip them out of there, you don't get cancer.
That sounded like a video game. A pedunculated one?
That's right.
Is that sort of like a Pokemon type of thing?
Yeah, it actually looks like a mushroom growing up.
See, it is a Pokemon type of thing.
Yeah.
We're talking with Dr. Dan Clark here this morning. So you get the polyps taken out, you ought to be in good shape. What happens when you don't and it actually does develop into cancer? Is all hope lost?
No, not at all. We have excellent outcomes because, say you get in there, say you didn't get a colonoscopy and, some blood in your stool or your stool turns dark. People say, well, how do I know if I have colon cancer? The problem is there's no signs or symptoms that regularly predict colon cancer. By the time you get, crampy abdominal pain or something like that from a cancer, it's causing blockage and it's pretty big. So, but the first early signs, you may notice some blood in your stool, or you may notice that your stool has turned dark because that's processed blood that has come through, and we call that melena when it's blackish type of stool.
Okay.
But it's not all the time. It's not like you're going to have it with every bowel movement. It'll be intermittent. So don't ignore it. If you see spots of blood, don't assume it's hemorrhoids. That's one of the most common mistakes because people say, oh, I have hemorrhoids. I saw blood in my stool. It's from my hemorrhoids. The problem is the hemorrhoids may be secondary to something else.
Okay.
And so the common mistake is to assume it's hemorrhoids. If there's any blood in your stool and you're over the age of 40, you should be seeking treatment. And then if they find a cancer in there, hope is not lost because if we get in there and we do a resection, then we have a 90% cure rate with the early stage colon and rectal cancers.
That's an amazing success rate.
Right.
It
Right.
really is. Is that a function of the technology of the day or of the new treatment protocols? How are you so successful at that particular type of cancer?
It's the early detection. I mean, it's getting it there and finding it. Like all cancers, if we can get in there and do surgery when it's early, we have better results. And as you know, we do robotics now for colon and rectal cancer. But even with open surgery, if you get in there early, the survival is great. It's a lot easier now that we have robotics because you don't have the huge incisions. You don't spend 10 days to 2 weeks in the hospital. Typically with robotics, you're out of the hospital with between 2 to 5 days after colon surgery. And so the recovery is a lot easier as well. But it's not really the technology. Technology has made it easier, to recover. But it's getting it early, and finding those cancers early. And then worst case scenario, say it's, cancer spreads through the lymph nodes or through the blood vessels, and it can go to the lymph nodes around the colon or it can go to the liver because the liver gets all the blood drainage from the intestines. And that's why everybody wonders, well, why does colon cancer go to the liver? It's because all the venous drainage goes up through the portal vein into the liver. The liver filters everything from the intestines. And so that's where the cancer cells will float to and get stuck in the liver. Even nowadays, if you have what we call stage 4, which is when it's spread to the liver, and you have isolated nodules in there, we have lots of options for that. Solitary resection, they can do chemoablation to it, they can go do cryo-freezing to it and everything else. So we even have a lot, the survival's not as good with early as it is with early cancer, but it's dramatically better than it used to be. It's not a lost cause anymore.
Yeah. We got a late start, so I want to make sure we get a couple of things in. Number one, the idea that because of COVID, we're not doing these things right now. That's not true.
That's not true at all. We are still doing colonoscopies. We're still doing screenings and everything. We have, and COVID has dropped off. It's not gone, but our numbers have dropped dramatically, and I'm hoping that that's a sign that this is going to end. But we're full speed ahead at the hospital. We're providing all services.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's a big thing to understand is you can still get your colonoscopy. Don't worry about the protocols because those are in place and those are there to protect you, and they'll do that.
Right.
Second thing, March 21st, the event on the Hoodoo-Bug Trail, then you and Dr. Bill are going to do what, a virtual chat after that?
Virtual chat, and it's a walk on the Hoodoo-Bug Trail. We have the inflatable colon, so you can see what polyps look like, see what colon cancer looks like. And Dr. Bill and I will be there to answer questions and everything as well. And we'll do the walk on the trail because one of the best things for prevention for most cancers, and colon cancer is no exception to that, is regular exercise. And, low-fat diet, regular exercise, things like that, dietary changes are a big deal with preventing colon cancer, too.
So that's 2 p.m. the 21st on the Hoodoo-Bug Trail.
Correct.
Beautiful. He's Dr. Dan Clark. I wish we could spend more, but because of traffic, that's not going to be possible today. But I appreciate your coming in.
Absolutely. It's always good to be here.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. Fox News is up next, and then it's the Brian Kilmeade Show. It's Indiana in the Morning, always presented by First.